Welcome, and thank you for attending our webinar. I'm Kristen St. Head of Conservation Services for Stanford Libraries, and am a member of the Conservation Linked Data Consortium. I'm very pleased you've joined us. This webinar is the first event of our Linked Data Consortium. The consortium has been formed to explore ways to increase the dissemination and reuse of conservation documentation through implementation of linked data. As we'll learn more today, linked data can make data accessible through standards and modeling that allow for sharing machine-readable information across the semantic web. And as we'll also learn today, other cultural heritage projects have used linked data as part of a suite of strategies where data, research, and other information is shared and used broadly. In offering this webinar, we hope these presentations will be a good introduction and inspire further conversation, both about the promise of linked data and the challenges that conservators and conservation scientists face in adopting and implementing linked data as part of their greater documentation projects and goals. The idea for this consortium was sparked last fall. Athanasios Velios posted on the DIST list about a half-day workshop where he presented on linked data on conservation documentation. This was during his year as a data architect for the Oxford Linked Open Data Pilot Project. At the same time, I was learning more about how my library was participating and leading in a series of collaborative grants, developing linked data for bibliographic description for our collections. When I saw Athanasios' posting, I was very interested that people were exploring linked data for conservation documentation. And so the timing was really interesting to me. And it was opportune as I, and I suspect a number of you, have been increasingly trying to sort through options for making our digital documentation accessible. And accessibility can be defined as accessible within our labs and our broader institution, or more widely, to a larger research community or the general public. So I reached out to Athanasios with a bunch of questions about how linked data could work and what considerations might be for the types of documentation we were generating. We had some Skype calls, and then the UK's Arts and Humanities Research Council put out a call for a network grant for collaborative digital humanities projects. On a tight time frame and across many time zones, we pulled together a group of conservators, scientists, and others who were also interested in the potential of linked data as a tool to use for conservation documentation projects. As the grant was for only 1 year, we decided to focus on two specific issues, terminology and modeling, as well as a goal of starting a larger conversation about linked data among our colleagues. We learned this year that the grant was successful, and here we are. This webinar is the first step in this plan to start a conversation and begin exploration. At the end of this webinar, I'll share about further events planned for the consortium and talk about how you can join us, either in person or as a communication partner. If you have to leave the webinar early, I encourage you to visit our consortium's website to learn more there. We will also have a recording of this webinar up on the website within a few days. A link to our website will be included in a follow-up email if you're not already familiar with the website. So now let me tell you more about what's on the program for today. We've brought together 3 groups of people working with different types of documentation and cultural heritage collections. All of them are either using linked data or have looked into what some of the promises and challenges of linked data are. First off, we have a team from Gallery Systems. Gallery Systems creates software for museums and other cultural institutions. Their collections management system, TMS, is used by museums around the world. In 2016, they introduced a web-based application for managing conservation documentation called Conservation Studio. A key goal in the product's design is to provide tools to help implement standards and share data, both within a single institution and between institutions. Our presenters today will be Jay Hoffman, the founder and CEO of Gallery Systems, who played a lead role in Gallery Systems' Conservation Working Group. Karen Waldemar is the internal champion and product manager for Conservation Studio, and often serves as a translator between conservators and the Gallery Systems technical teams. Vadim Soshkin is the chief architect and does technical product design, including integration of external thesauri such as the AAT and the TGN. Next up will be Dennis Withrich and Rob Sanderson. Dennis Withrich is CEO and founder of Farallon Geographics, a firm that specializes in GIS and geospatial solutions. Rob Sanderson is the Getty Trust's first semantic information architect. This morning, they will discuss their work on Arches, a project of the Getty Conservation Institute and the World Monuments Fund. It's an open source geospatially enabled software platform for cultural heritage inventory and management. It utilizes linked open data and the CDOC CRM ontology, along with other internationally adopted standards. Finally, we'll hear from Dominic Oldman of the British Museum. He is a senior curator in the Collections Directorate and the head of Research Space. The Research Space project was established in 2010 and has developed a shared digital research infrastructure for cultural heritage organizations. This project is based in the British Museum and funded with assistance from the Mellon Foundation. But first, I'd like to introduce Dr. Athanasios Velios, who is the project lead for the Link Conservation Data Consortium. Thanasis is a reader in digital documentation at the University of the Arts London and with many years of experience in conservation documentation. He will give us a brief introduction to Link data to start today off.